The stream will start soon. I know you guys are like, what's going on? It's about to start. It's about to start. Nintendo. So Nintendo is banning gamers for playing used games. And this title is not clickbait. It is not clickbait at all. Nope. Why is Nintendo banning gamers for playing used games? How is that going to affect everyone going forward? Watch the end of the video to have all of those questions answered. Also, don't forget to follow us over on Rumble. Shout out to the Rumble people watching. Our Rumble is linked in the description of the video, and it's also pinned in the chat. And guys, don't let them convince you that you will own nothing and be happy, especially when you see what Nintendo is doing and other companies like them. Go and check out Angry's Crypto Academy to learn how to buy, sell, and trade crypto and make massive profit while doing so. Angry's Crypto Academy is linked in the description of the video, so you can find it linked there. Now let's go ahead and jump right in. Today's video comes from Mad Little Pixel. His channel will be linked in the description of the video, and let's go.
Times in the past where I've had to deal with these video game companies' customer service, like Xbox, Sony, and Nintendo. I do remember what I had to deal with Xbox, right, with Microsoft. I remember having to call them because I lost access to logging into my Xbox Live account. And this was a long time ago, and I learned my lesson. This was a stupid mistake. If you recall, back in the day, this was dumb even then, you would have like an internet service provider, and they would give you an email address, right? And I used that email address for like everything. Just making it up, say it was like madlittlepixel@verizon.net. And then once you no longer had that internet service provider, for whatever reason, either you changed providers or you moved, you no longer had access to that. It just wasn't in that town you lived in. You no longer could have that email address anymore. So it was something along those lines. And I could no longer log into my damn account. And I had tons of things tied to that email address. And I still do, where I just can't log into things. And this was a long time ago, long ass time ago. Holy crap, like DSL era type things, you know? And I remember having to call Microsoft, deal with them to get things swapped around, changed to a different email address, and got that all taken care of. It was a pain in the ass dealing with them, dude. And then I had something similar with PlayStation, with my account with them, having to deal with them. I don't recall exactly what it was, but I remember it was annoying. Nintendo, I've had to deal with several times. System transfers, like the 3DS, like buying one on the secondary market after not having a system for a while, the Wii, 3DS, getting my account back on there, just the way they did their stupid accounts. They don't do it that way anymore, but back then you would have to call them to get your account back on there. It was stupid, man. And it wasn't exactly painless, but it was there was a lot less pain involved than dealing with Microsoft or Sony, okay? And then there was another time, I remember doing a video where like my Nintendo Switch, my account like somehow got compromised, and somebody used like an Epic account, Fortnite, and got like some V-Bucks or something. And I was like scrambling, what the hell, dude? And luckily I went about it the right way and contacted people instead of just doing a chargeback, because if you did a chargeback, Nintendo would just ban your account. But the point of this video today is I saw this information brought up, which reminded me of a video I did not too long ago about the MiG Switch users getting their Switch 2 banned. And this is something that kind of pisses me off. I like Nintendo. I have a Switch 2, and I've been enjoying it. I say this all the time with things. I'm not the person, like I do see it in my comments all the time. I see it all over the place where people are just like, F Nintendo, F like whatever specific company, like you're boycotting them for life. Think, you know, life is too short for me to think that way with certain things. You know, businesses are businesses. So I like when I see a lot of people like, oh man, I don't like Nintendo doing things this way, that way, whatever. I get it. I complain about things too. You look at all my videos, complain about a lot. I don't have to like everything about a company, but they do make games that I enjoy. So I'm gonna play them, man. I'm gonna play them. I'm not gonna boycott everything. If I don't like it, I won't buy it. But there's things I want, so I'm gonna buy it. It's just plain and simple. That's just the way it is. I could bitch about things. I could say there's things I don't like.
So he's been long-winded. Basically, what Nintendo is doing is the following: Nintendo is actually banning Switch 2 consoles that use Switch 1 games. So, you can see this. I think it's a Reddit post. It says, "Be careful buying used Switch 1 games. You can get banned if a bad actor dumped it." Having said that, Nintendo support is amazing and will help get you back up and running. So basically, this is the situation that's happening with the Nintendo Switch right now. Nintendo is banning used games for whatever reason. So you can go out and pick up a cartridge. And go out, pick up a cartridge, Switch 1 game off eBay, off from a pawn shop. It shouldn't really matter, even from a friend. And now Nintendo will ban that game. They may ban that game. And they're saying that, well, it may only be games that, if someone had the game before and they dumped the ROM, Nintendo is basically banning those cartridges, which is a load of BS. A load of BS, because that's what the Switch fanboys are going to say. But the reality is now that you have to be very careful. And while Nintendo previously said that they had no way of unbanning banned Switch consoles, it's obviously not true. Banned Switch 2 consoles, because they clearly do have a way of doing it. However, we saw this happen with the MiG Switch, but now what we realize is that if you have a cartridge, if you have a game that you purchased, it can actually get banned. Specifically, used Switch 1 games can get your Switch 2 banned now. It's sad. It's insane. Be careful buying Switch 1 games. Used Switch 1 games, if you try to play them on your Switch 2, it can get the console banned. You'll have to reach out to Nintendo, and if you're lucky and they think that it was a mistake, then they may unban your Switch 2. This is the reason why I say that Switch 2 is not a console. Switch 2 is a service. You do not own it. And guys, I'll tell you right now, the fanboys are going to say that they don't care. They're going to shame us. They're going to come after people like me that are calling out Nintendo, that are talking about this issue, and they're going to say that, well, if you stop trying to hack the system, this wouldn't be happening. And you go, this is not hacking the system. This is buying a used game, and Nintendo is banning it. Oh, well, it's because of this and this and this. Like, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And of course, now Nintendo is trying to stop the UK petition, not the UK, the EU petition, which will evidently now be reviewed, hopefully by the Universal European Union, regarding what companies are doing, their ill-gotten practices, and hopefully something may change. The EU does have much stronger consumer protections than in the rest of the world, so hopefully they will directly investigate what's happening with companies like Nintendo and their end user license agreement, because Nintendo's already being sued in Brazil right now, but obviously that's not enough. And by the way, guys, if you're watching over on Rumble, go and type W in the chat on Rumble. Type W in the chat on Rumble. Gayad says, love from Kenya. Shout out to Guhad. If you're watching over on Rumble, type W in the chat. Type W in the chat, because we're winning. Let me see here. KJ says, used games, brand new games, and third-party accessories are all off the table. And you can't resell the console without long validation times. Yes, this is another serious issue. It's like, even trying to resell a Switch 2 will now become very difficult. So you don't own anything. You don't own the games. You don't own the physical games. You don't own the console itself. So it has no real resale value. Think about it very carefully. One of the reasons why we buy things is so that we have the ability to resell them later on if we need to. And there's going to be a bunch of the fanboys who are going to say in the comments, and they'll even say things like, I'm not even a big Nintendo fan, but when I buy something, I buy it to own it. I don't resell my things. Like, holy guys, these are people. These are agents of, the Matrix, because only someone like that would say something like, you don't need to retain value of, and I see these comments all the time. You don't actually own anything. You don't even own your house, so you shouldn't even be like, I've had these comments from Nintendo fanboys. This is what they say: you don't even own your house, you don't own anything, so you shouldn't be complaining about what Nintendo's doing. You don't own your house. Now, don't get me wrong, because of property taxes and so forth, yes, it makes it much difficult. It does create a system where it's much easier for you to lose your property. But to say that you have no ownership at all would not be completely true. With the Nintendo Switch 2, you have essentially no ownership. You have no ownership over the games. You have no ownership over the device itself. You don't own it. Okay? And this is the reality that Nintendo has taken us into. It's really, really bad. It's really, really bad. It's a disgrace. I actually felt like coming on and talking about this here. I'm gonna have a video coming out. Gonna have what's his name? Gonna have Andy work on a video for us, and we're gonna cover this. It's nice. It's nice having people working with me and working on the channel so that I don't have to do everything on my own anymore, because it's hard, right? I was actually really, really sick yesterday, and even for some of today, but I was really bad yesterday. I couldn't sleep, and I just was able to finally fall asleep today, sometime in the morning, but it was so nasty. Closer to the afternoon, even, I was just like really bad. I don't know what's going on, but like, well, I honestly don't know what's going on. I mean, like, I'm seeing a doctor. I'm going to my doctor regularly. I get blood work done pretty regularly. Everything's overall good. Blood pressure is like, surprisingly, blood pressure is really good. I don't know. I check every. I keep. But I'm just not. I'm just not feeling well. I've been sick for a very long time, and it's just like some days I get better, and I'm able to like do a lot better than I was 3 months ago, but I'm still just always constantly getting ill. It's, I guess, and a part of it is my age. I'm getting old now, be 42 this year. I know some Gen Xers like, oh, hope whoop de doo, 42. Talk to me when you're pushing 60, kid. Yeah, yeah, whatever, whatever. Gen X is just the older members of Gen X are just a bit too feral. I swear they are. All right, not everyone is built for tough like that. I mean, like, if you made it to your 40s, you've already achieved something. Just by living this long, But I don't know. It's just I don't know. But I'm surprised I'm surprised what's going on right now. I mean, Nintendo, it just keeps on getting worse. Where now Nintendo will ban your system for used games. They'll ban your Switch 2, and you have to reach out to Nintendo. And if it's a mistake, then they'll unlock the console. Although that's not a guarantee. I told you, you don't own it. It's a service. It's 100% a service. And Nintendo, of course, is going to continue getting away with this because very few people are going to challenge them because they're Nintendo. It's like guys, no other company can get away with this. No other company could get away with this. Apple could not get away with this, because if Apple tried something like what Nintendo was doing, Apple is basically, Apple devices, these devices that we use, our cell phones, our computers, they are connections to our lives. And if these companies, after spending $1,000 on these devices, if these companies started doing it, it'd be all over the news. The government would begin investigating Apple. If cell phone providers started doing this, the government would start investigating them. But at the size of Apple, yeah. But for Nintendo, even though Nintendo is like such a massive part of the video game industry right now, I mean, it doesn't matter, because there's the Nintendo nostalgia and the fact that they're smaller than a company like Apple or even Microsoft. They're able to get away with something like this. And there's the whole Nintendo nostalgia thing that protects them from people who would potentially sue them, but then say, yeah, we're not going to sue you because it's Nintendo. It's Nintendo. Like, they are such a bad company. Nintendo is just such a terrible company. Like, what they're doing right now is they are stealing from the consumer, where you don't own, like, it's just some, like, don't, like, Ubisoft recently said that you're required to destroy, like, if they stop servicing these games, you're required to destroy your games now, like, this is your physical games, like, they updated their EULA, end user license agreement, to require you to destroy your physical games after they stop providing service for them within like 90 days, I think. And because of in the European Union, in the EU, this is probably not going to it's not going to work. Like it'll probably get thrown out in the European Union, but in the United States has actually very poor consumer protection programs. So so the law is more likely to side with the corporation than with people. So these companies can basically do whatever they want, and they can indefinitely just keep on updating their user agreements or terms of service and user agreements to basically force you to accept whatever they do and escape liability, such as taking away your rights to sue them through required arbitrations. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely sad. And I don't know, it's like it just keeps on getting worse. This is what the system has now become completely built on. There's a comment from Mark O. Let me see if I can grab his comment. Marco said, "Hey, angry guy, hope you're all good, bud. Thank you so much. I appreciate that." And there's another comment he made. Let me see here. Yeah, this one. He says, Nintendo needs to go the same way as Sega. No more hardware, just games. And that I agree with. The thing is, the funniest thing about Nintendo just going straight games is that if they did that, they would still be doing the same BS when it came to end user license agreements, where it would literally be nonsense. The thing is that the interesting thing about Nintendo doing that, I mean, I guess they could still be somewhat successful, but yeah, that's the best outcome. I don't know if it'll happen again, and they would still be pursuing crazy radical so IP policies and insane DRM. It'd be a freaking nightmare, and they would still let you know that you don't own your games, and it would be remotely disabling them. You potentially wouldn't, knowing how Nintendo operates, you wouldn't even be able, there's a good chance you may not even be able to download your games on Steam, although you may be able to. I don't know, it's hard with Nintendo. It's hard to know how they would operate, but even if they did put their games on Steam, they would have you'd have to agree to a separate third party and user license agreement, and they would have their own DRM in there, and that DRM of course would be absolutely insane and monitoring you and collecting your data and disabling your access to the game for any little reason. It'd be stupid. Like other companies are already trying to do this garbage, but Nintendo would be pioneering it, and I could honestly see Nintendo creating their own, because they wouldn't want to give 30% of their profits to Steam. So honestly, they have their way of doing things is to basically sell directly to the consumer. So it's like even if they exited the console business, I feel like Nintendo, because they do things their own way, they would basically have their own launcher. They would have their own launcher where you would access Switch game, Nintendo games, and again, it would just be it'd be a nightmare because they're going to keep all that profit for themselves, and if you want to play their games, you're going to have to use their launcher, and that's when you're going to be running into all kinds of problems. And oh, your game is not working, it's okay, you can just call Nintendo. It's like they get you comfortable with the idea that you're downloading these games, your PC games, like all other games, but the reality is that it's the same crap all over again. And because they destroyed their name, they destroyed their brand when it came to consoles, they're just using PC now as a means of continuing to reach the consumer, but their practices are not going to stop. So it doesn't matter if you're playing on the Switch or on the Switch or on your PC. It doesn't matter, because they're still going to find ways of forcing you to constantly pay for the same game over and over and over again. That's just how Nintendo is. They're a horrible company, a vindictive company that is hell bent on taking everything and anything from you. They're not the good guys. I'll say it again. Nintendo are not the good guys. They are 100% the bad guys. It's like we talk about like ultimate evil, the bad guy. Like they are bad guys. Nintendo are bad guys, and as consumers, we have to protect ourselves. We have to be mindful that these people are trying to ensure that we have nothing. They're terrible. KJ says that this will open the door for consumer protections to be looked into in the states' right to repair people. I mean, it's a maybe because Nintendo has found ways to circumvent the system. Like Nintendo has been sued for violating the IPs of company like two or three different companies over the last 2 decades. They lost both of those cases and then they came back, appealed them like years later and won. They know how to circumvent the system because I've always said this: Nintendo is not a video game company. They're a law firm that makes. They're simply a law firm that makes video games, and it's total BS. Total BS what they're doing. But I just felt like definitely talking about this because I was like, you know what? I want to talk a little bit about this and share how I feel. And it's only gonna get worse. It's only gonna get worse. Like I'm so grateful I did not buy a Switch 2. Thank God. So many of my subscribers like were adamant, do not buy the Switch 2. You'd be a hypocrite if you buy it, blah blah blah. Even for a review, don't buy it. And I'm so glad that I did not waste my money. Because you have people who are like crying now because they spent almost $1,000 on this damn thing. When you count the Pro controller, the memory card, because it's like $100, and if you got the camera, and for even without the camera, you have to get the Pro controller. So you need the memory card, which is like a micro SD express card, and they're very, very expensive, really expensive. And then on top of that, that's like at least $100, $200. And then there's the Pro controller, which is like another $100 for the Switch 2 Pro controller. And then there's the Switch itself, which is 450 with taxes. That's 500. So you're looking at about $700 to $800 when you let's stuff I forgot to mention, and don't forget the game. Don't forget the game. You have to pick up Mario Kart with it. Okay, so now we're at that $800 just for the Nintendo Switch 2, one game. Nintendo Switch 2, one game, a Pro controller, and an SD card, to save SD Express card because they don't use just standard micro SD anymore. SD Express card to download your games to. You're going to be looking at a massive amount of money, $800. And Nintendo Switch fans, of course, the fanboys are like, if you're broke, you just say so. If you can't afford, I literally saw these fans in like the Switch 2 fans who are like, well, listen, if you don't want to play the Switch 2, then stop playing games entirely. Stop playing games entirely? Because if you don't like it, then stop playing games entirely. No, you don't tell me to stop playing games entirely. You good for you jerk. You don't control what games I play, and you don't tell me whether or not I can talk about the ill practices of a company. These people are so corrupt, and Nintendo knows that their fans are corrupt because they just want to know that their console is better than everyone else's. It's crazy. It's Nintendo nonsense. KJ says, but it was the #1 selling console. Yep, people bought them and then shortly after returned them in mass. Yeah, so that's something like I've been putting out videos. You guys probably saw today's video or yesterday's video, depending on where you are. Yesterday's video, which was basically showing you that people are returning the Switch 2. Like people are making videos of themselves returning the Switch 2. There was the girl in the video that I did yesterday. Well, it was by what's his name? Oh my goodness. We have Andy and we have Andy and we have Mogbo Gaming. So it was by Mogbo, and basically the girl in the video, evidently the people who bought, like, she didn't even pay for it herself. Like her subscribers or her followers, they paid for it and they gave her the money for it. She went and she bought it. And then she basically said that she apologizes, but she cannot continue owning this thing. She just can't do it because she's like, I'm not an attorney. I don't have a law degree, but I can read. And this thing is just downright terrible. I don't own anything. And it's not good. And she got rid of it. And she's like, I'm not going to feel bad. And the saddest thing that I saw is that you had them fanboys who are coming after her, condemning her for selling it, telling her she's going to regret it, telling her she shouldn't have done it. Like they were getting nasty with her just because she did not want to own the Switch 2. And this is how psycho these people are. And it's not just her. Anyone, when I've watched other videos on YouTube of people who said they returned the Switch 2, because she's not the first channel I've covered, it's the same thing. The Switch fanboys basically go after any detractor, anyone who dare say that they don't like the Switch 2 and that they're returning it and they're not going to regret it. They basically have the fanboys coming after them, and they're not even saying like, okay, good, we didn't want you either. They're infuriated and they're basically condemning you for refusing to own it. Like, yeah, I don't want it, I just returned it, and yeah, that's about it. Oh really? Okay, you're not, you shouldn't have done it, you're blah blah blah. If you don't want to own the Switch 2, then don't play video games at all. Like, what do you mean by that, dude? Nintendo doesn't own video games. Nintendo didn't invent video games. We don't own Nintendo anything. I don't have to play Nintendo video games. Well, if you don't want to play Nintendo games, then don't play games at all. What? Guys, these people are too damn corrupt. Too damn corrupt. Like, you're dealing with downright insanity and delusion when looking at Nintendo fans. Because they will come up with the most ridiculous stuff. Ultimate says, yay, Uncle Angry live. Hey. KJ says, saw her video because of the algo, just everyone else. Let me see here. Squirrel says, looks like Nintendo doesn't want money. Well, the reason why they're doing this is because of greed. I understand what you're saying. You're like basically they're gonna screw themselves, but maybe not. Because it's like the insanity over the Switch and Nintendo's ability to sue Nintendo has better lawyers than Apple. It's the truth. At the end of the day, Apple, no matter how good Apple has some of the greatest people in the world. Tim Cook is an amazing. He's an amazing finance. He was the previous chief financial officer for Apple, if I recall. This guy understands numbers. I give Tim his absolute credit. I am not disrespecting Tim Cook. I am not disrespecting the lawyers who work for Apple. I'm not. These people are brilliant people, regardless if you like what they do or you don't like what they do. I give them their dues, but they can't handle Nintendo. They have nothing on Nintendo. They do not have the kind of lawyers that Nintendo has. And Apple has the best lawyers in the world, but you have to understand there's a difference between a company that makes products. Like the core function of the company is to make products, and they have very good lawyers, right? So basically, Apple is an engineering company. They're basically engineers with good lawyers, right? Nintendo, on the other hand, are completely different. They are simply lawyers with good game designers. That's how Nintendo operates. They are not a gaming company. They are lawyers with good. They are lawyers with good game designers, while Apple are engineers with good lawyers. Okay, so it's like their entire thing is. I mean, Nintendo is the largest, most dangerous law firm in the entire world. Like these people they can control Washington. They are unbelievable in how, like, they can beat. They've proven that they've been able to beat almost any case brought against them over the last 20 years. The last case they lost was back in like 2004, maybe like 20 years ago in the European Union. They lost almost $150 million for price fixing in countries in the European Union, if I recall. But that was that may be the last real big case that Nintendo lost. Ever since then, they just doubled down and they found new strategies for defeating every lawsuit. Or if they lose a lawsuit, they then appeal and then they win. So even if they really terribly lose a lawsuit, they then find a way to appeal and win, because they know how to suppress evidence. They know how to do a number of different things. They have completely insane. Their strategies, you can't beat them. Unless, to be very honest with you, unless it's a government going up against Nintendo, like what's happening in Brazil right now, that's the only way that they may be able to beat Nintendo. And Nintendo has no problem paying people off. They have no problem using money to buy people out. That's what they did when with the one of the creators of an emulator. They couldn't touch them, so they basically sent someone to their house to make them an offer for the emulation software. They sent someone to their, they sent their Nintendo ninjas, that's the lawyers are their ninjas, to this person's house, evidently. Can you imagine? Someone, could you imagine Nintendo sending someone to your home and saying that, oh, hey, we're just here, we're just coming to your house and we have an offer for you. We'd like to buy out your software. But you know, and it's not like, you know, and it's like, you know, we know, we know where you live. We know where you live. Guys, these people are dangerous. If that story is true, and I believe it, and I truly do believe it's true, all right, are there elements of truth in it? That if they are so comfortable setting their attorneys to your home, and it's all calculated. Nintendo does everything very carefully. It's all extremely calculated how they operate. If they will do something like that, there's nothing that they won't do. All right, because their idea of winning is is weaponizing the justice system and basically wearing you out. Because they are not in the business of their primary business is not making games. Their primary business is litigation. Like I said, they are not a gaming company with good lawyers. They're not a gaming company with good lawyers. They're a they're a law firm that simply makes good games. I'll keep looking at this, right? Yeah, I agree with Squirrel on this one. He says, wow, actual cult behavior. It is 100%. Majaro says, unfortunately, gamers will always be dumb and purchase online subs and digital games. The thing about everything is going digital at this point, and acting like they're not is foolish. It's like there's nothing we can really do about it. You know, you could say, well, I'll only buy digital games. Yeah, you can say that, but guess look at what companies like Nintendo and even PlayStation are doing. Where, like, when the PlayStation Network went down recently, you had people who own games like Gran Turismo on PlayStation 5, and the PlayStation Network went down, and they put in the disc, and the game wouldn't load. And it's an offline game, which basically tells us that many of these games, they're not truly offline. And they did this. They basically did all of this quietly without us knowing, and we didn't really, we didn't fully read those end user license agreements. It's nasty. Yeah, so the concept of, oh well, you know, digital games, I'm not going to play games if I can't buy them, and well, if you're talking about retro games, fine. Games for like Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, PS2, for example, games that go back, you know, before even the 360 era and the PlayStation 2 era, PlayStation 3 era, fine. But if you're talking about anything after PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and even some of those games can be problematic, but anything after that era, you can forget about it. You can pretty much forget about it. You know, the era of physical games is basically over. It's dead. We need to accept that, like, for example, the next Xbox is basically a computer. Don't expect physical. There won't be any there are actually no more physical games evidently being made for the current Xbox. Or if you want to play, let's say, like Doom, if you want to play like the latest version of Doom, if you buy it on the Xbox, the physical version, it's basically a key card. If you want the actual game on a cartridge, you have to buy it on the PlayStation 5. That's how they're operating now. And as you can see, you know, Sony increasingly does not want any more physical games either, but their games are already like key cards anyway. Even if not fully, they're already like key cards anyway. There still has to be validation. So they built in the technology, and we didn't even know that they did it. So that's a really sad and pathetic world we live in right now. So say that, well, I refuse to play digital games, okay, then I mean, play old games. But if you want to play new games, you're gonna have to play digital. You're gonna have to deal with digital. Now, for me, the best place is Steam. and GOG. And I'm well aware that my games on Steam could disappear at any moment. But the one good thing with Steam is I buy my games at like very cheap. So I don't spend a lot on my games. Like I like most of them. I like to buy them. I like to buy them at very low prices, very low price whenever they're on sale. That's how most people operate. I use game key shops and so forth. So like, oh, this game is $50. Okay, cool. I'll go and get it for $3 using a game key, getting using a Steam sale. Or well, the Steam sales have been kind of crappy lately. Like the summer sale that just ended today or yesterday at that, it was not very good. Granted, I had a lot of games from like that I had purchased over the last year, so I had kind of had everything I wanted in my in there, but because I have over 1,200 games on Steam right now. Very few free to play. Most of them are paid purchases. I have over 1,200 paid games on Steam right now, but I also have over 400 games on GOG, good old games. And GOG is DRM free. Anyone who says otherwise is a fool. GOG is DRM free. They cannot take your GOG games cannot be taken away from you. All right. Have some companies like tried some BS with patches to like require you to log into like a online account? Yes, that has happened before. But for the most part, most of the games that you purchase on GOG, like all of the games are DRM free, and most of them you won't have any problems with them. I have No Man's Sky that I purchased on GOG, and I really give them credit for putting No Man's Sky on GOG because I own it now, and I can download it and play it forever. And that's and I can back them up to a hard drive. And the good thing is when you purchase your games cheap, when you wait for sales and you buy them for less, you're still spending a lot of money. You can never resell these games, but at least you have them, at least you own them and you can play them and they cannot be taken away from you. And there's a lot of people who will say, the Nintendo idiot fanboys will say, oh, everything, you don't own anything, you don't even own the games on GOG. One of the biggest important GOG's entire pitch is literally no DRM. We cannot take your games back from you. Even if we refund you, we still can't take the game away from you. It's their entire marketing pitch. And fanboys from Nintendo, they'll never accept it because they are corrupt. And they think that Nintendo owns the gaming industry. Squirrel says that Nintendo did the creators of Pal World dirty. They really did. And they are damaging innovation. And no one can stop them at this point, it seems like. The homie says that a lot of people forget that we as the consumers control the market. We need to vote with our wallets for real. The Nintendo bootlickers are nothing but brainless slaves to these companies. The problem is the way that Nintendo operates, limiting and controlling the market. And of course, you're 100% when it comes to the Nintendo fanboys, because they're just going to continue pushing things forward in this way. It's very hard to go up against Nintendo. Nintendo is just so corrupt. Apple cannot operate the way Nintendo does. Microsoft can't operate. Even Sony cannot get away with the things Nintendo is doing. No other company on earth possibly could do what Nintendo is doing. They are only able to do it because they're Nintendo. Yeah, KJ says PS5, Nintendo, and Xbox going digital games. It is. It's 100%. The Hobie says this is why the Stop Killing Games movement is so important. You're 100% right on that. 100% right on that. Squirrel says that Sweet Baby Inc. is also a major problem that needs to be removed from the gaming industry. I agree with you, but it's easier said than done. What I've realized is that even if they stop consulting with Sweet Baby Inc., you already have these people working. You already have ethics departments at these companies. You already have people that were hired. You already have a ton of DEI hires in these companies in positions of power and leadership. So even if you get rid of even if you get rid of the consulting firms, you still have these people hired that work there with these ideologies. So you'd have to basically fire a lot of these people. You'd have to clean house. And it can be very, very hard to do that, especially when the people who are running the company itself are themselves a part of the problem. So it's not just like you have to, it's not just literally, it's not just cleaning, it's not just removing people at the top. It's also removing people at the bottom. Like you have to clean house from top to bottom. That's the only way, and that would cost time. That takes time and money. Like you have to and then on top of it, employees who are not into this type of philosophy, they've all been infected. They've received DEI training, all of this stuff. So it's a philosophy that permeates through a lot of these companies right now. The only way the only way to really escape it is through indie. Steven says video game emulation is the future of gaming. So it's going to be a large part of it, but you have to understand that most people don't want to spend time fiddling with an emulator. And I agree that it's important to learn how these things work and to learn how technology works, but it's also very different. It's not to say that everyone has to, become a computer whiz. It's not fair. I definitely agree that that everyone should look into PC gaming, but let's be very realistic. The whole idea of console gaming was originally to make gaming easily cheap and easily accessible to everyone, where you didn't have to learn how to install patches, how to modify, in some cases even modify code, or change values around, or understand different hardware configurations. Sometimes the game doesn't work. It has nothing to do with the game itself, and everything to do with, maybe you're not running a certain type of program software. You need to update Windows or Linux or whatever the hell you're on. There's so many things that come with it. And even with Steam OS, which is making things a lot better, you're still going to run into some of these issues. So it's like that's where Nintendo and Sony still have space, because for people who don't want to have to deal with these issues, they just want to be able to, you know, pick up, like, load a game and play the game. They're they're basically going to have to do that. You put up with these companies, and that's what Sony basically said when asked about, like, people moving over to PC. They pointed out that they can get away. They said basically we don't have a lot of competition, so we can essentially charge what we want, whatever we want to right now, because Microsoft is in competition and they don't see themselves directly competing with Nintendo. And this was before the Switch 2 came out. Like I don't know if it was like months ago or last year, but they were like, yeah, we don't really have much competition. We don't have really any competition, and so we can charge whatever we want to, and people, and, like, PCs can still be complicated. So that's what we have over everyone else. We can charge these crazy prices because if you don't want to have to go through the learning curve of PC gaming, then you're going to have to pay our price. It's basically a convenience tax. So if you want the convenience of being able to play your games easily easily without a setup and all of an additional confusion, then you're going to have to basically do what we say, adhere to our community guidelines. That's the thing. And there's so many games that I realize now I would never have experienced if it wasn't for Steam. One of my favorite genres right now are visual novels. And I never knew what visual novels were. I heard of them, but I thought the concept was very stupid. Like a visual novel, so it's just like text and you're reading the text. And I thought visual novels were stupid. And then when I moved over to Steam, I started checking them out. And it's like I picked up one visual novel. I'm like, okay, this is sick. Like when I say sick, I mean it's really awesome. I love this visual novel, and it's like it has RPG elements in it, so it's like, oh, this is really good. So I can play this RPG. Oh, it's turn based too, so I'm playing. It's not great, but it's not bad. But it's the story that's really great. So I'm there enjoying the story, and I'm really getting into it. I'm like, okay, let me try another visual novel. Let me try another one and another one and another one. And now a large portion of the games that I actually purchase on Steam are visual novels. And so many of these games could never have come out on consoles. There's so many games, not just visual novels, but just so many other different kinds of games that would never be approved or just never released on Nintendo's consoles. On mainstream consoles like the Xbox, the PlayStation, or Nintendo's consoles. I will say this, and there's another thing as well. One of the reasons why a lot of companies that release their games on platforms like Steam or on GOG may never release the titles on consoles is because of the changes that they would have to make. For example, if Sony says, "Well, you need to make these changes to this game, to your game," like let's say they change your content policies and they pressure you to change certain content, it now makes sense to change the content for all versions of the game, because if you try to just change it for one version of the game, it's going to create issues because of the software that you're using to develop the game, and it's probably going to be an engine that's multi-platform engine that allows you to develop your games for multiple different consoles. And so trying to have a different version for the Nintendo Switch and a different version for our different version for the PlayStation, a different version for Steam and GOG, it just doesn't make any sense. It creates way too many problems. Way too many problems. And especially when it comes to updating your games in the future. So many companies won't even do that. They'll just say, screw it. We're just going to make everything uniform right across the board. That's something that happened recently with a game that came out years ago on Steam, and now they're basically making changes because of Sony's pressures, removing things like certain types of NUDITY, as well as some violence in the game, I think, and they're removing it from the Steam version as well years after it came out, because they have to they were trying to get in line with Sony's demands, and they're like, why are you changing this? People are like, there's a lot of backlash, like, why are you changing the game on Steam? And it's like, they're like, it's because of the development process, and it'll be too difficult to develop for both. And it's like, it's easy to get pissed off, but once you understand how development works, then you start to see why. It's unfortunate. These companies are an absolute and utter train wreck, and they're making our lives freaking miserable. That's why you have to buy your game. That's why it's so important to buy games from, like I said, GOG. From GOG, you guys. If you're listening on Rumble, shout out to my Rumble people. Rumble stays winning. Type W in the chat. Come on, guys. Type W in the chat. If you're on Rumble, you're enjoying the stream over on Rumble, type W in the chat. Let me see here. Let's read some. Let's see if let's check out some of these comments. The homie says, "Could you imagine if Nintendo started breaking Switch ones? Would Nintendo even dare do such a devious act?" They absolutely, if they can, they will. And I do think that they eventually are going to start disabling Switch ones using the software, because they've already made it clear that their new end user license agreement have now made it clear that with the new software update and the new update to the end user license agreement, that you no longer own the Switch one. The Switch ones that we purchased even years ago are now just basically glorified cable boxes. You no longer own a console. You're basically owning a device that connects you to a service. That's it. It's a service. It's not a device. The actual contents, like the software, everything on there that powers it, that's just connecting you to a service. The games, they're a part of a service. So when you pay to access the games, you don't own the games. You're just paying for access to the games on the service. It's psychotic. It is psychotic. Oh my gosh. KJ says every device has Wi-Fi cards nowadays. Welcome to the biggest fear I have: planned obsolescence, the intentional breaking of devices for security. That's really where it's going. That's where it's going with, like, for example, like these smart stoves that don't use electricity, that don't use, what do you call it, heating anymore. They don't use gasoline. They don't use gas. They're all electric, and they'll that's like how, like, and oh, they have all these features that they'll prepare your food for you in certain ways. Like, the ultimate goal is to put you on a subscription plan, so, like, so that that's the ultimate goal: trading convenience for control. Where, oh, you don't like, if you want to cook your food, you have to have a subscription plan to use the stove. If you want to use your washer, you have to have a subscription plan to use the washer. If you want to use the microwave, you have to have a subscription plan to use the microwave. Like, that's 100% the where we're heading. Oh, did you buy a new AC? A smart AC. Oh, you need a subscription plan to use your air conditioner. But it's affordable. It's only $20 a month or $10 a month. So you're going to be paying. This is how insane it is. You're going to be paying this company to use a freaking AC. That's the goal. every device you will have to pay a subscription plan to use. I mean, if you look at even like YouTube, I mean, if you don't want to watch constant ads, you're going to have to basically pay the subscription, get YouTube Premium, right? Even Rumble, got to pay that subscription plan if you want to access the exclusive, if you want to access, like exclusive videos and so forth. So everything these days will require a subscription, and it's not just for streaming videos. It's going to be it's for everything. It's literally, oh, you like, don't forget, that's what Microsoft, that's been Microsoft's intent from the very beginning. Like, that was what they were trying to do with Windows 10, and to some degree have done, turning Windows from an operating system into a service. They, like, for example, like, you cannot even use Office 365 anymore to even like open up a word file or anything like that. You actually have to pay for it. But it's a small fee. Even email now, like, for example, I have to basically pay for my, I have a Hotmail email address, and from years ago, and I have to now pay for it because it just stopped working, claiming that I was out of space, and I wasn't out of space. But they basically were like, "Oh, it's like you're out of space, guys." This is how they operate. They basically deliberately broke my email address. All right, and it wasn't out of space. It's just how they operate. These companies are corrupt. So now I have to pay for my email. I don't know. God help us. God help us. These companies are so vindictive, and it's like guys, they're publicly traded companies, so they have to keep on making more and more profit. So they have to keep on raising prices. They have to keep on cutting employees and raising prices. They're not like Valve, that's a private company, so they don't have to make record profits every year. No, no, no. These public companies have to constantly make more money than they did previously, or if they don't, then eventually they're going to end up having to consolidate. So it's like it's a cycle that's unsustainable, even for the companies themselves. Oh my gosh. Oh boy. I tell you, it's sick. Let me see here. KJ says, "What a monopoly, Nintendo." They absolutely are. I called it. I said they were a monopoly. KJ says, every device will be a service in a walled open proprietary garden. Oh, right. Android, Apple, Microsoft. That's the ultimate goal. That's the ultimate goal. Every device will basically be, a service in a walled garden. That's what they just desperately want. Like right now, like I was like, as I'm working on this for you, there's a game called Slay the Princess, and I don't know. I think this is a visual novel. Yeah, it is a visual novel. It's really, really popular. Like even on GOG, it's like a 4.7 rating out of 5. But it's a really popular game, and like I own the game on Steam already. I own the game on Steam already. However, I own the game on Steam already. However, I like to pick up games on GOG when I can. I mean, right now on my GOG, how many games do I have on GOG? Let me see. Games. I have 472 games on GOG. And of course, there's a lot of them on GOG that also I have on Steam, but I have 472 games on GOG, and I'm really not playing games. Like I have the entire Tomb Raider remastered collection. I think I have all of the games on GOG too. But I have such an insane collection of games on GOG. Crazy, crazy amount of games over there. I have Alone in the Dark. Got Alan Wake Nightmare. But those are just like some oldies. But for example, I've got Batman Arkham Asylum Game of the Year, Batman Arkham City, Batman Arkham Knight, Batman Arkham Origins, Batman Telltale series. Those are just some examples. I have Baldur Gates 1, Baldur Gates 2, and I have Baldur Gates 3 over on Steam. I may pick it up over here eventually, though. I also have games like Atom RPG, Beyond Beyond Good and Evil. I have Bioshock 2, Bioshock 2 Remastered, Bioshock Infinite, like Blasphemous 2. Like this is like Bloodstained. They're just like calling out some Breath of Fire 4. Picked that one up pretty recently. It just came out. That's a game from back in the day. So they actually have a lot of it's called good old games for a reason, because they focus on bringing in like a lot of games that we enjoyed from like back on Super NES or PlayStation 1. They end up like bringing these games to the service, games that are just not even on Steam, and they fix the games so that they're functional on later OS operating systems. I even have Crisis. I have Crisis Warheads, Crisis Wars. I have Croc, and then I have Croc. So that's the remastered or remake of the original. I have Cyberpunk with all the DLC. Oh my gosh! I mean, like I have Dead Space. Is that the one? I think it is. Of games like Dead Space. I'm just going over my collection right here. There's a lot I'm like leaving out, like Deuces X. I've got Devil May Cry. I've got the Devil May Cry HD collection, as well as Devil May Cry 4. I've got Dino Crisis 1 and Dino Crisis 2. You're not going to find that. You will not find that over on Steam, for example. Yeah. Like you can find the soundtrack over there, but you're not going to find it on Steam. And these are DRM free. So I own the game. Disco Elysium, the final cut. I have Doom 2, Doom 3. Uh, do I have Doom 2000? I guess it's probably not over here. I don't know. Doom 2000s, the first one that came out in the I do Doom 2016. I have Doom 2016. So I have the original Doom. I have Doom 1, Doom 3, Doom 2, Doom 3, and Doom 2016. They don't have Doom the Dark Ages over here yet, or Doom Eternal. So when those come out, hopefully I'll pick them up. I mean, I'm just like in love with my collection of games. Dragon Age. I have Dragon Age Origins, Ultimate Edition, Dredge. Oh man, Dungeon Hunters, Dying Light. I have the enhanced version of Dying Light. I've got like indies like The Escapist 2. I have I have Fallout 1, Fallout 2, Fallout 3, Fallout Tactics, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4 Game of the Year edition. I have Far Cry 1, Far Cry 2 on GOG. I don't have the other ones over here. I don't know if they're over here. And then I don't have the other ones over on Steam. No, I'm just we're just talking, having fun right now. I've got Ghost Runner. I also have God of War over here on GOG. Yes, God of War, DRM free, that Sony doesn't want you to own. I have a DRM free God of War, the version that came out on PlayStation 4. So the later version of it, like what the one where he goes to the whole Nordic exploration. Crazy. Heavy Rain, Hellblade, Sasuna's Sacrifice. Come on, y'all. I'm not even like calling out. I'm really only calling out the games that guys might recognize, like Hitman apps. I have Hitman Absolution, Hitman Blood Money, Hitman 2, Hitman Contracts, Hitman Codename 47, Hollow Knight, Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition. You can't even buy the complete edition on. You can't even get, like, guys. I actually own the digital version of Horizon Zero Dawn, the complete edition. So I guess that's what all the DLC. I own that on GOG. Like, come on, y'all, stop playing with me. It's like and then you don't, and then while versus like Nintendo versus like other places where you don't own anything. I've got Jade Empire. That's an old classic. Most of these games I've never played. One of the things that I'm really looking to do right now, guys, is to just clear off debt. Like, just clear off as much debt as I can. Squirrel says Parasite Eve. I'd love to pick up Parasite Eve. Hopefully they'll bring it over eventually. Akuma says Steam robbed me of my money trying to buy Street Fighter 6. I'm sorry about that. You should definitely reach out to customer service. They're usually very good if you get like charged and don't get your game. Squirrel says I love the Ultima series. Eric says religions have been going this way for years. It's just that people started to notice. All right. The homie says, I heard there is a Nintendo Direct this month. Sadly, I'm not excited for it anymore after what they did with the Switch 2. I don't even know if I want to watch their movies too. It's it won't hit the same. That's how it is for me. Like I can't even I just don't feel connected to their titles anymore. Like, I really wanted to play I really wanted to enjoy and play, what do you call that game? The new Zelda. The new Zelda is the one where Zelda is the main character, and I actually have it. I forget the name of it. It just came out last year, and I actually have it. I have the physical version and the digital version, I believe. And yeah, definitely have the digital version, and I have the physical version. And I just can't bring myself to play it anymore. I played a bit of it, and I think it's like tears of something of wisdom, like wisdom or something. Not tears, but something about wisdom. And I haven't bring myself. I can't play it anymore. Like I can't really play any Nintendo games anymore because I just feel disconnected from them, and I feel like I'm not gonna fight to play these games, even though I paid for them. Like it's like Nintendo has made it clear that you don't own them. My biggest goal right now is to sell off my physical collection of games. All my Nintendo Switch games are brand new, so I have like I what I usually do is I would buy the digital games and then the physical games as well. But so I have like over 70 Nintendo Switch games, all brand new. However, with what Nintendo is doing, I just don't feel connected anymore. I just really want to get rid of my physical. I just really want to get rid of my collection of physical games before they tank in value, or they may go up. But I just want to get rid of them. I want to get rid of them, sell them off, and just use that money, pay off some debt. Because I spent like over that collection cost me like between like maybe close to $4,000, between $3,000 and $4,000. And it's like for Nintendo to step in now and take advantage of me and tell me I don't own, like you don't own your games. Like, okay, Nintendo, you know, if I don't own my games, goodbye. You're the weakest link in my life. Like you're a thief, you're a robber, you're a thief, and I just won't. I'll just get rid of your products and I won't buy any more of them. I will not give you another penny, another dime. KJ says Nintendo has spoiled the tap. We all consume games from the market. We now are all on the lookout for this type of scheme, for this type of shenanigan. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Akuma says Steam lately has updated their cart plus. I keep getting a purchase not complete error too. I'm sorry about that. I don't know why that's happening. Purchase not complete. It could be an error because I don't have any issues ordering on Steam. So maybe consider reaching out to Steam support. Don't just assume that it's Steam messing around with you. Because I had errors with Steam before. So don't just assume that it could be something with your computer. It could be an issue with Steam Launcher. It could be maybe an issue with your card. If it's an issue with your account, reach out. I would say reach out to Steam. Try reaching out to Steam first and letting them know what's happening if you haven't done that. Let me check your comments though. Squirrel said I have to get going. Have a wonderful night. See you, Squirrel. Good. Thanks for coming around, Squirrel. It was really good having you. Thanks for being here, man. Really appreciate you coming. Stephen says, well, I'll just continue emulating Nintendo games, including ROM hacks. Yeah, Nintendo actually took down a major ROM hack site recently, like yesterday, working with the FBI in coordination with the FBI to do it. But the thing is, like after what Nintendo's doing, like stealing from us, like it's only like emulation, including Nintendo games, especially Nintendo games, maybe even, is only going to continue growing more. Yeah. Yeah. But guys, what do you think regarding all of this? Nintendo is banning. They're such a bad company. Nintendo is banning gamers. Nintendo banned gamers is banning gamers for playing used Switch games. Let me know your thoughts and we'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA and walking away. And cheers.